Shocking announcement from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan. The couple issuing this personal statement today, saying that they intend to step back as senior members of the royal family and they want to become financially independent while continuing to fully support Her Majesty the Queen. They say, we now plan to balance our time between the United Kingdom and North America. And that term, by the way, North America, is getting a lot of interest because people are wondering whether it might mean Canada. Of course, the couple spent part of the holidays in British Columbia, in Vancouver, and also on the island in and around Victoria as well. The Duke and Duchess say it will be a geographic balance between both sides of the Atlantic and also an opportunity for their baby Archie, our little boy, to not only be able to appreciate royal traditions, but also for the couple to work on their charity as well. Let's bring in CTV News royal commentator Richard Berthelsen, who is standing by with his take. Richard, first of all, what does it mean when they say stepping back from royal duties?
Well, I think it means that they are going to cease being senior members of the royal family, but they're still going to be major members of the royal family. So I think the idea of them undertaking engagements and commitments that they're not interested in at other people's requests or by virtue of tradition, they're no longer going to do. And they're going to simply do what they feel is important through their own charitable endeavors and priorities that they have. So it's a very big change in terms of their approach as members of the royal family. It will really differentiate themselves from most members of the royal family, but they'll still be very much in the public eye, and they'll still be associated with all the things that we have seen them be involved with, like Invictus and different issues to do with women's issues for the Duchess to date.
All right, what about the reference to North America? What do you make of that?
Well, I think there's no doubt that the Duchess has very fond, attachments both to Canada for the 7 or more years that she spent here in Toronto, as well as the United States. So, I mean, she's clearly making the statement that they're going to be in both of these places. And, I mean, the enthusiasm that they had yesterday when they were at the High Commission in London for Canada was very obvious. We might have seen, I guess, this was coming because they clearly had a lot of, very positive things to say about their life. It will be interesting to see how much time they spend here versus the United States. I think they have more possibility to have a little bit of privacy in Canada than they would in the United States. I think if they go to the United States very much, or if they base themselves there, they're going to descend strictly into celebrity culture, and that's something that I think they should want to avoid.
The other thing is to become more financially independent. So that's a curious way to put it. What does that mean?
Well, the palace has just put out a series of backgrounders and briefing notes, there's a lot to take in there, and this is very short notice, but it does seem to be that they intend to take on paid employment. So I don't know whether for Harry that means flying an aircraft, because that's the skill that he has to some extent from his experience with helicopters. The Duchess maybe would be working in some kind of way that was maybe related to her career, or, for example, if she were to guest edit a magazine, which she did after she joined the royal family, would she be paid for that? So they're making it very clear that they maybe would have their feet in the paid workforce in addition to royal duties. And that, again, will really differentiate themselves from very senior members of the royal family. There's a few junior members of the royal family that have that situation, but how they're going to balance those two things is very, very difficult to understand at this point. It's very early days.
Does it make sense to you? Are you surprised to hear this news?
I really felt that after the interview they gave last year and the backlash, the reaction, which was not positive to that interview that they did at the end of their African trip, the level of vitriol they had towards the media, I felt there was something coming. Either they were going to have to make peace with their situation or they were going to have to withdraw and make some major changes. And they've now done that. And I guess they previewed that by taking this 6 weeks off as they did to really consider their position. I am a bit surprised that we're getting such a vague announcement today with so many questions remaining, although the backgrounders are starting to come out and how they see this. And I do see this primarily related to the tabloid press. There's a lot of discussion about how they're no longer going to be engaging with the tabloid press or journalists that don't have a certain degree of ethics in their approach. I think that that is really what this is directed at, and they're going to say we're no longer on the public dime, and so we can choose who to engage with in addition to our own social media channels. So that is really what I think is one of the biggest aspects that's behind this today.
Busy news day. We appreciate you getting into the chair, Richard, today. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.